good morning, or actually, hello, and good evening even. Today is a Tuesday, December 6, 2022. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be hybrid, allowing participation both in person and in the City Council chamber and remotely. We can be followed both on our Zoom link as well as our Lawrence City Council Facebook page and our Lawrence City Council YouTube page. At this point, I'll ask the clerk to please read the roll.
Councilor Levy. Absent. Councilor De La Cruz. Absent. Councilor Payano.
Present.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Present.
Councilor Del Rosario.
Present.
Councilor Selena Reyes.
Present.
Councilor Infante.
Present.
Vice President Reyes. Absent. Council President McClain.
Present. At this point, we'll ask you all to rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilors, before we start for public participation, I just want to acknowledge we have a new face around this dais today. I just want to welcome Assistant Clerk Jennifer Duran for being sworn in recently and being part of the team here. And welcome, Clerk Duran. And we look forward to your good work, and we appreciate all that you've done so far. So welcome. Public participation, same rules as always, 2.5 minutes, keep at the 2-minute mark. The bell will ring, giving you 30 more seconds to finish up your thoughts. Please address the chair or not any individual members of the City Council. First person up is Mr. Mali.
Humayun Mali, 53 Chester Street. Good evening, honorable members. We, the citizen, demand of you and Honorable Mayor Brian De Pena the best contract for Lawrence Police now. Lawrence Police Department, with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Chief Roy Basque, has done excellent job to protect our citizens. Lawrence Police, this union, pride and honor, deserve the best contract. Our city is a beautiful city because of our hard-working DPW workers. We support DPW union and their leadership. Million thanks to Honorable Superintendent Cynthia Paris, one of the best superintendents in the history of Lawrence, for granting contract to our teachers and their union, Lawrence Public School, paraprofessional employees and cafeteria workers. We are grateful for that. Lawrence is a city, the best example of respect for union right from the police department union, firefighters, teachers, and DPW. We, the citizens, are united to demand the best contract for Lawrence Police now. Lawrence Police, this proud union, thank you for your hard work and sacrifices. The best season greeting to our wonderful police officers union, firefighters, DPW, and teachers union. Contract for Lawrence Police now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Brenda Rossi.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Brenda Rossi, and I reside at 127 Chester Street. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the Personnel Committee meeting where they were discussing the city attorney position. The personnel director sent down 3 names that she said were certified. My question is, how were they certified? Did she interview all candidates and these were the best 3? Why was she not present in the meeting to say why these individuals were chosen? In this age of virtual meetings, she didn't even have to be present to tell the committee why. Also disturbing is that a search by advertising cannot be done because the mayor's office controls the advertising budget. This position is one of the top positions that need to be filled soon. On a lighter note, I will not be at the next 2 council meetings as I will be elsewhere, so I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. May your 2023 resolution be to listen to your constituents, the taxpayers, the residents of Lawrence who voted for you, and not the third floor before you take a vote. Let's make 2023 a much better year for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dick Russell.
Good evening, councilors. My name's Dick Russell. I reside at 34 Cross Street. Apologize for the face mask. I was recently diagnosed with influenza A. I hope that my rant tonight has some influence on my input to the items that I'm discussing. First, confirmation of the individual in agenda item 41422 leads me to ask several questions. Why does she need a consultant at a cost of 3% of a $3.1 million grant to help determine how grant money is going to be spent? I figured that this would be part of the job skill for the position. 2, will she be issued a demerit book to report people not doing their job? Next on the agenda, item 40922, the appointment of inspectional service director. I understand that the first department heads meeting that he attended, he said something to the effect that he didn't know what the duties of the job were. I'm also hearing that he's telling the PD, the fire department, and his inspectional service division personnel to go easy on transgressions. If I were on the council, a vote for him to be the ISD would not have my fingerprints on it. I pray that no structural catastrophe befalls any building in Lawrence, because a vote for him, you are just as guilty as he is. All of you know that I'm a straightforward individual who admit to what I'm doing and what I have done. If this gentleman does manage to get selected for the position of ISD, you can rest assured my fingerprints will be all over the buttons on my telephone as I call the Mass Attorney General's office and the Board of Engineering licensure to check if this individual that is non-compliant with MGL 143, Section 3 is allowed to be Inspectional Service Director. As always, I thank you for the time to address you.
Thank you, and that ends public participation. The names, addresses, and comments are to the clerk and to our files. Moving on, Council Budget and Finance Committee Chairman, I see that there's something, a report, 399A. Did you want to give the report with the expectation we may be moving it back to committee?
Thank you, Council President. The Budget and Finance Committee met on November 21st around item 399.2. We voted to split this item into two parts, 399.22A, 399-22B. 399-22A was for the expending of $100,000 to hire a consultant to come up with a plan for the home ARPA grant for the other $3.6 million. It's come to my attention that we are not able to expend expend this money until a plan is until there is a plan in place on how this will be allocated. Council President, I think that there are two ways. I mean, you could send this back to committee, but I also see that there is another motion for $100,000 for that consultant. So if they're both sent to committee, we would have two motions there.
So the other motion that you're referring to under new business, and you received a communication from the mayor's office, they're actually seeing that and have acted to withdraw that, so that will not be going to a committee this evening. So the item that we will be dealing with will be this item, so we may want to send that back down to committee.
So Council President, I think that the issue might be that it sounds like from what we heard from the director is that there is an interest in hiring a consultant to come up with the allocation plan. So if they are unable to hire the consultant using this grant, then it sounds like their approach will be to get that from the reserves.
Okay, so for this item right here, and I get the alternative, right? So the question before us then is, what are we going to do with this item? Are we going to table it up here, or are we going to send it back down? Are we?
So Council President, if you send it back down, what the Budget Committee is going to do is send it back up with a motion to withdraw, because this item will no longer, we will not be voting on. We can't vote on this.
More information, Clerk. Clerk, I'm asking because I think that at Department Head on this matter.
I spoke with both the department head and also with the grant manager, Sue Fink, and it seemed like they are looking to have both items survive, is the way I understood it, that they were 399A, they were asking to have it sent back to the committee because they cannot spend those grant monies without an allocation plan. I think they would like to have the 100,000 put back with the rest of the grant. They may use it separately, they may use it for something, it doesn't have to go towards a consultant if it's part of the bigger grant. So I think they would like to have it go back down to the committee. The document number 419, which is $100,000 from free cash for the consultant, is because they want the consultant now, and they can't wait for the allocation plan to hire the consultant. So that's two, my understanding was they wanted to keep both documents alive.
So, Council President, I mean, the only, I think we could do it that way, but the committee can also, so the committee voted to take out 100,000 to change the number in B. We could just make a motion to bring it back to what it was before. So, I mean, whichever way we want to do it, we'll make sense of it in committee.
So just one more time, so we're all on the same page. I defer to the chairman. So what's your advice on how we should deal with this tonight?
My thoughts are that we withdraw this at the committee. We're going to have a motion for that motion B. We just change that motion to the full amount.
So you want to make a motion to withdraw this item that just came out of the committee, and then we're going to refer the bottom item that under new business to the committee, and at that point, you're understanding that will make everybody whole, what we're looking to get done.
Correct.
That's what you're suggesting. Is that your motion?
Correct.
To withdraw? There's a motion to withdraw this item. Is there a second? There's a seconded by Councilor from District D. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The matter is withdrawn. What I would like to do, councilors, if we have no objections to this, we have several items before the ordinance committee. We do have a bunch of people here, I think, want or have some interest in any particular matter. So what I would like to do, if there's no objection, is maybe just skip over to document number 39622. That's the Stockton Park name change to Councilor Roger Toomey Park. Counselor, I know that the chair and the vice chair are on here, so you're going to be filling in. Would you be willing to give the committee report, please, on document number 39622?
Through you, Mr. President, 396-22 Stockton Park, name change to Councilor Roger Toomey Park by Councilor Gregory Del Rosario and Councilor Vice President Estela Reyes and Councilor Giovanni De Rodriguez.
So the motion is up to the full council with favorable recommendation.
Yes.
Motion is made. Is there a second to the motion?
Is that for my motion?
Do you want to? Second. Motion's been made and properly second. Councilors, we have, like we did with the Councilor DeMarco situation, I'm sure there are other people here that may want to speak on this matter. Just at this point, if somebody wishes to speak on this matter, now is the time to speak for or against whatever, or insights. Now's the time to do it. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this matter? Please come forward.
I haven't been here for a long time, but good evening, Council. Thank you, Council President. I first would like to thank Mayor DePena for making Councilor Roger Toomey's dream come true with the rehabilitation of Stockton Park. It's going to be beautiful. I can remember one night Roger called him and said, "Brian, if you're elected mayor, would you please see to it that Stockton Park gets rehabbed?" He said, "I will do that." So moving forward, on March 9th, I got a call from the mayor's office that they were going to break ground for Stockton Park. Moving forward, I just want to I want the councilors to know that just to be honored by you for all the work that Roger did with his beautification project, with the veterans, all that he did for the 15 years that he worked in this city, I really do appreciate it. It meant a lot to me, Lisa and Chris. As you know, I made the decision to have Stockton Park remain as it is. It was left up to me what I wanted, and that's the decision I made, and I want you to know that tonight. I made that decision. Stockton Park will remain the same. However, the fountain will be dedicated to Councilor Roger Toomey. It's on its way. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey.
So,
Appreciate
Merry
that.
Christmas to everybody. Feliz Navidad, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Toomey. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Just come forward.
Hi, council members. My name's Chris Toomey. I'm Roger Toomey's son. And I just wanted to take this moment to thank the councilors who brought this notion forward. I thought it was quite an honorable and very heartwarming gesture for me personally. I know early on when Stockton Park was groundbreaking, it was such a special day for our family, knowing that the dream that my father had for that park was coming to fruition. So we're very thankful for that. Moving forward to this time, as this came up to the agenda, initially really felt like, oh my God, I can't believe that the city wants to rename a park after my father. I mean, it's a very humbling thing and a very prideful thing. And he certainly demonstrated the best qualities that you can in his public service to the city. So I think, you know, he's certainly worthy. But like my mom said, we've had a lot of internal discussions among our family. We've prayed quite a bit about this, and we don't feel that it would be right to rename this park after my dad. We think it should remain as Stockton Park in honor of Mr. Stockton. And it's just not, it just doesn't feel right to us to do that. And while I think he's worthy, and certainly it's very heartwarming and heartfelt, and we appreciate everything that people have done to recognize him, and I think the city knows who he is as a person. We're very grateful for all of those efforts. And I just want to say that we think it should remain as Stockton Park. And like my mom said, something with his name on it, on the park somewhere, is, I think, more appropriate than renaming it to Roger Toomey Park. So thank you, councilors.
Anybody else? Come on up if you wish to speak.
Good evening, councilors. If you can bear with me, I did prepare a little bit of a speech. I promise it won't be long, but I think it goes without saying that some things need to be mentioned this evening. My name is Ann Clegg. I live in the Tower Hill section of Lawrence. Been here about 30 years in the city. I've had the honor of meeting Roger Toomey and getting to know him. So I'm here to speak, obviously, on the improvement plan. There's been some recent concerns surrounding the park, and a couple of things need to be clarified first off. I would like to clarify the fact that, first and foremost, the discussion regarding this park was not a groundswell that was done by the Toomey family, friends, campaign workers. It was the councilors that brought this forward, with the mayor, who was a councilor at the time, who made a promise to Roger Toomey. And I greatly, greatly respect that, because he saw that through. So I just want to clarify that this wasn't something that was a groundswell of family members, like I said, friends, to make this happen. It was the councilors that brought this forward. So that needs to be said and clarified, I think. Let's see. Second of all, as you know, Roger Toomey's goal was to see this park beautified. He worked for a number of years to make that happen. A lot happened along the way, but one of his last wishes was to make sure that this park was taken care of and brought back to its heyday. Second of all, for those that know Roger Toomey, and some of you have had the pleasure of working with him on the council, council. I've personally known him since 2007, when my husband and I joined his political campaign. You would agree that he is a man of high moral values and integrity. And I think in no way would he want to be a part of pressuring anyone or going against the legacy of a founding father of the city, that it was not Roger. I began working on his campaign and got to know what such a dedicated public servant he was. I think it's an understatement to say that. The councilors were provided, I believe, with a compilation of some of the things that Councilor Roger Toomey has done, so I don't need to reiterate every single thing, but just know that Roger certainly made his mark on Lawrence. He participated in the Adopt-A-Park, worked tirelessly to try to beautify the city, attended numerous dedications, attended every neighborhood meeting for the entire time he was council, which to me is remarkable. He also took part in a Veterans Breakfast, which to this day still continues, and that's part of Roger's legacy. This year we just celebrated the 12th year of the Pancake Breakfast, which is held in November in honor of our veterans who attend free. Roger also, in addition to a wonderful counselor, was a dedicated husband, father, grandfather, and friend, and a veteran who fought for the city in all his endeavors. For all these reasons, I believe that Roger would not want Starrow Park to be renamed, but would want to keep it as Starrow Park. But I feel it would be a well-deserved honor to somehow incorporate Roger Toomey's vision as part of the improvement project. I certainly respect the council's decision in this regard. In closing, it would be a tribute to see one of the Councilor Roger Toomey's last wishes of having Stockton Park brought back to its grandeur. I look forward to seeing the finished project. And again, thank you for those councilors, thank you for the mayor. Regardless of how you feel, I know this has been an issue that kind of took a life of its own for a period of time, but I appreciate all that you do, and I thank you for allowing me to speak on this matter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, Council President, fellow councilors. Jamie Melendez, 67 Amherst Street, Lawrence, Mass. I'm Director of Veteran Services. And I just want to say on behalf of the veterans of Lawrence, thank you for what you're doing every day. To Marilyn Toomey and her family, I want to thank them for everything that Councilor Toomey did for our veterans here in the city. He has been the epitome of service to our veterans and their families. And I wish more people could do it with the endeavor and the enthusiasm that he did it during his time with us. We're all much better for having known him. And lastly, I want to thank him for his service to our great nation. To raise your right hand, put on a uniform, and say, if you need me, I will go, speaks to the character of the person. With all of that said, I want to again say thank you to the Toomey family, because I do believe that Councilor Toomey would want to have Stockton Park restored. And I think it would be extremely appropriate to honor that wish and also acknowledge his endeavor to make that happen by acknowledging that with a plaque or some sort of tribute to Councilor Toomey at the park. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Director. Anybody else?
Good evening, Lawrence City Council. My name is Amita Kiley, and I grew up in Lawrence. I'm currently the Collections Manager and Research Coordinator at the Lawrence History Center on 6 Essex Street. The Lawrence History Center is an archive and research center which collects, preserves, shares, and animates the history and heritage of Lawrence and its people. We are located in the former headquarters of the Essex Company, and the Essex Company was a group of individuals who planned and developed the city of Lawrence. They created Lawrence out of land purchased from Andover and Methuen. They built the Great Stone Dam and the canals, and they laid out the streets. They also provided water power to the mills that drew immigrants from around the world. Without the Essex Company, there would be no Lawrence. The individuals who invested in, worked for, and held office for the Essex Company are of the utmost importance to our city's history. If it weren't for them, there'd be no Lawrence today, and we would be standing in Methuen right now. But just creating Lawrence wasn't enough in the eyes of the Essex Company. They also wanted to ensure that the city was a nice place to live, so they deeded land to the city to use for parks and green space, such as the Lawrence Common. Another tract of land they gave was Stockton Park, deeded to the city of Lawrence in April of 1897. The park was named for Howard Stockton. Quote, "The park has been named Stockton Park for the treasurer of the Essex Company," end quote. Stockton was treasurer of the Essex Company for nearly 50 years, and during that 50-year span, a tremendous amount of development occurred in Lawrence, particularly in South Lawrence, where Stockton Park sits today. The city accepted Stockton Park, and since then, it has been a very important gateway to the city. I was here tonight to voice my opposition to changing the name of the park, and I'm thankful to the Toomey family for wanting to keep the name Stockton Park. I think that is the best way to go forward. To rename it there wouldn't really be a reason that I see. It would be as if we've forgotten who Stockton was. And if we had forgotten who Stockton was, shame on us. Because we don't know who he was, we discount his decades of service? No. We should be resurrecting the stories of Lawrence's past so that they can coexist with the stories of Lawrence today. We stand on the shoulders of those that came before us, and if we take those people away, we all fall down. Additionally, you as City Council have done such wonderful things for the city, and I know we would all hate to see in the future if a future City Council undid the progress that you've made. So I'm so pleased that we are keeping the name of Stockton. And lastly, at the Lawrence History Center, we're regularly visited by people who have family who lived in Lawrence over the years. And they'll come to us and they'll want to learn about their family. They'll want to know where is the bridge that's named after them, or where did they live in the city. And so I'm pleased that now when the Stockton family comes to visit us and they ask where Stockton Park is, we'll be able to point them to the beautiful new park, or the beautiful redeveloped park that is possible. Thank you so much for listening tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening. David Meehan, 79 Pearl Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts. And again, grateful to the Toomey family to come to this decision, which I'm sure was not easy. But to follow up on what Amita Kiley had just said about, we shouldn't cancel out the achievements of important people from the past to honor the people of the present. They can coexist. And the upside to this whole issue this evening, I think, is that from controversy breeds conversation. And so one thing that Amita did mention, that before tonight, who knew who Stockton was? You know, and that's part of our responsibility. So we're erecting some type of memorial plaque to Howard Stockton in that park, as well as to Roger Toomey, because history, yes, is in the past, but history evolves. And we are making history as we speak, and we are the curators for that history for our children in the city, so that when our children go out into other cities, and as you know, I taught at Lawrence High School, they say, well, where are you from? Lawrence. Well, what can you tell me about Lawrence outside of your own families? You know, so they need to know that their inherited history as well as the history that's being created today. So I think later on, maybe we can form some type of a committee or talk about these different ideas, how we honor both of these gentlemen, both veterans, one from the Civil War and one from the Korean War, and two people who did amazing things for the city, and how do those things coexist? The bigger picture, though, for all of this, too, is how we preserve our city's history. And I'm looking up at the tapestry up over there. We have some important buildings of Lawrence, and it wasn't that long ago that I stood here with Jonas Stunzer as part of the Historic Commission in asking that the Oliver School not be eliminated, meaning torn down, because that was the original plan, just to get rid of the Oliver School and start from ground zero and build anew. Through discussion with you folks in the Historic Commission and the city planners, a compromise was made where they saved the front wings and the courtyard of the building and are adding on to the rest of it. So we had the preservation of that beautiful building. And just to show you how things have changed over, say, 30, 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, it was knock it down. Now when you meet with the architects, they bring an architectural historian with them, which was a real treat, and we talked about how we can save this building and why that building is important. And the site that you see up there says Oliver High School. That high school up there is the high school where Robert Frost went to school. And that's where he wrote his first published poem, La Noche Triste. So his first published poem was written at that site. So there was a little bit of a plaque on the side of the Oliver School that mentions, oh, Robert Frost went to school here. Well, we thought, well, we can do much better than that. A couple of years ago, I met an artist at a fundraiser where they were trying to raise money because she was going to create this statue in honor of Mary Heaton Vorse, who was a writer for Harper's Weekly, who came up to Lawrence and covered the 1912 strike. When she found out that I was from Lawrence, and she's an international, her most famous piece is Eleanor Roosevelt on Riverside Drive in New York City. So she's a world-renowned artist. When I told her that I was from Lawrence, Massachusetts, we got into the conversation, and she said, oh, Robert Frost. And she said, yes. I just did a statue of Robert Frost that's out in Amherst College. She said, but I have a bust, a very large bust of Robert Frost that I'm looking for a home. I said, really? I know a home where it can go. So that started the dialogue, and then how do we get it? Well, I'm saying this to you today because today it happened. Today it happened. I didn't expect it to happen so quickly, but it did. We have procured a 600-pound granite carved bust of Robert Frost, which will go on a granite slab in front of the Oliver School to commemorate that this is the site where he wrote the United States Poet Laureate wrote his first published poem at this site, went to school here, probably while staring out the window at the park and the birds across the street. So he will be positioned at the Oliver School in alignment with the Robert Frost Memorial Fountain and the Strikers Monument. He also wrote a poem called The Lone Striker. So there's another connection to the 1912 strike. So that means this isn't costing you anything. The Strikers Monument Committee has procured the funds, and we went with Kalitsi Monuments today down to Newton to her studio, where we gathered up on a flatbed truck with a crane this bust of Robert Frost, and it's sitting safely in an undisclosed place until it's ready to be transported to the site over there. So this is how we, again, educate our public, take pride in our past. And I'm not glad that this has caused any turmoil or grief to the Toomey family or any of their supporters, but I'm glad that this is what spears progress, the conversation through controversy. So now we have history back front and center. How do we honor older history? And how do we prepare our future history? Because as I said, history evolves. And so thank you, and I will be back with photographs of Mr. Frost, and I will let you know when we plan to install it. So thank you again.
That is great news, Mr. Meehan, and thank you very much for doing that. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak this evening?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Charlton. I live at 506 Lowell Street in Lawrence, Massachusetts. I'm also the vice president of the Lawrence Civil War Memorial Guard. And two things. I know the history of Mr. Stockton, Captain Stockton. He not only enlisted, he went out on disability, for a year and a half, came back, and continued his service after the war until 1871. He was an officer in good standing. He was an honorable man. He was a righteous man. Roger Toomey was a very righteous man, and he was an honorable man. And I know Roger Toomey, going back, as Annie Clegg said, from his early campaign days, he supported all of our Civil War work. He supported the work at the Bellevue Cemetery. This whole thing, I hate this. I hate being in a position where I have to pick and choose. Is one man's valor better than the other? And I think we know the answer to that. And while I appreciate the efforts of the council, I am very grateful to Marilyn and her son Chris, the Toomey family. If I keep talking, I will cry because it upsets me that Roger is no longer here with us. My point being, I'm grateful if you could honor Captain Stockton by leaving his name there, but for the love of God, please do something for Roger because he was a great man. He deserves that. And I don't want him to be forgotten, and I certainly don't want to see anyone's name come down. You know, when you come through the city like this, where some park gets changed for this, we name parks for a reason, as someone pointed out earlier. We have to look at the council's past, and I don't want to see this council's decisions changed 100 years from now because someone forgot who somebody was. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm not an eloquent speaker, and I apologize for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak this evening?
My name is Donald Silva. I live at 144 Franklin Street. This is my counselor right here, Giovanni. I want to thank you, counselors, on Veterans Day for handing out these requisition of services to all the veterans. I got one myself, and I hope this keeps up, okay? I'm also the historian of the Disabled American Veterans. I was named the Veterans Historian on the 150th anniversary of the city of Lawrence. So I did tremendous research on every park and every corner in this city. One of them that was the hardest, and it's still up in the air, is Stockton Park. Now, you all know Stockton, okay, as the treasurer of the Essex Company, and also he was a captain in the Army. But he didn't make captain until he left, excuse me a minute, he was a lieutenant as an ordnance corps of the 3rd Brigade, Company C of Rhode Island. Before that, he was in the service in Missouri, and when he came back, he transferred to the 3rd Brigade of Rhode Island. But then he was sent off again to South Carolina, all the way down until they got to New Orleans, okay? So this is a real, okay? Upon his return, he resigned from the Army in June 1st of 1871. He made 2nd lieutenant before he became captain. So his military service was a long stretch. Previous to that, he went to school in Dresden, Germany, okay, at Royal Saxon Polytechnic Institute. This is one of the biggest prestigious schools in Germany. When he came back, he went to law school here in Boston because his father was president of the bank in Boston, and that's how he became a lawyer and a financier, which he worked very hard to become treasurer, not only of the Essex Company, but many other companies within Massachusetts. He was treasurer of the Chico Manufacturing Company from the 1876 to 1887, Salmon Falls Manufacturing Company, 1890, 1892, president of the American Bell Telephone Company, 1887 to 1889. He was vice president of the Old Colony Railroad, director of Merchants National Bank of Boston, and the Mutual Fire Insurance Company. He was also accuracy of Massachusetts Hospital. He was life insurance company president of Boston Antietam. He was trustee of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He was a delegate to the Diocesan Conversations, that's the Diocese of Boston, and he was a member of the Diocese of Massachusetts. He had other achievements as a reputable lawyer, a financier, and many other programs in which he was involved in, such as the Mason Temple, the one on Jackson Street. He was also a member of other fraternities, including an advisor financier of the women's suffrage movement. Okay, nobody ever heard of Mary Livermore. Well, Mary Livermore was the president of the Massachusetts Society for the Suffrage Movement. She went on, became the national president of that association. Then he married, of course at that time he married Mary Mason. Mary Mason's father was a clergy in the city of Boston, and they had 3 children. The 3 children were Philip Stockton, named after the grandfather. Ethel Stockton was his daughter, and then he had Howard Stockton Jr. Now, Philip Stockton died in 1940, and he's buried in the cemetery in Cambridge, along with his father, his mother, and some other members of the family. Ethel Stockton married a guy by the name of Whiteside, and she is also buried there. She passed away in 1944. Howard Stockton was also 1934, Jr. As I go on, there's more to Howard Stockton when it comes to this park and why it was dedicated. It wasn't dedicated just because he was a treasurer. It was dedicated because his involvement with the military and all the other agencies that he was with, okay, or he financed. And he was very active coming to Lawrence and doing a lot of things by financing these projects in Lawrence. He had the means to do it because of being a lawyer and having direct access to the bank, where his father and his son ran that same bank. Now, to go to Stockton Park itself, it's been there for a long time, and it was named after him. And I would like to see this stay Stockton Park for the reasons that he is a Civil War hero, okay? Roger Toomey was a friend of mine. I lend him my truck every year with all the signs posted over it, where he parked it at one of the polling booths in South Lawrence. I always used to decorate it with the signs, give him the truck, and that's it. I campaigned for him on the streets of South Broadway, holding signs for him. He was a great councilman. He was a great veteran when he served. And I recognize the both facts on what he did for the city of Lawrence. But we have to take a look at other parks in the city. First of all, the Lawrence Football Stadium. It's called the Lawrence Veterans Memorial Stadium. When they tried to change the name, we were there to stop them and let them know that they could have recognition for doing the renovation of that stadium. And if you go to the stadium today, there are 2 plaques up there, and both Mayor Sullivans are on those plaques for the credit in which they did to renovate that stadium, okay? On Burgoyne Park, Lucian Burgoyne, West Street, that park was going to be renamed Field of Dreams. We advised the city then, you can't name it because it's already been named for a veteran. It's Lucian Park. Now the city of Lawrence has it as Burgoyne Park, and the sign is up there on West Street. The same thing happened with the Schofield baseball fields on Lawrence Street, okay? Hayden Schofield was a World War I veteran, and that's why that park was named after him. The Elements wanted to change the name to Roberto Clemente Park. You can't take and change the name of Roberto Clemente Park. We gave them another alternative, as we have in the past. You can name a baseball diamond within the park for Roberto Clemente, and they did that. There's always an avenue in which you can take, like in Stockton Park. There should be a plaque put up there recognizing Roger Toomey as getting the finance for the rehabilitation of Stockton Park. But Stockton Park must remain the same because of his background, and he is a veteran. And that's why I'm here to protect veterans' properties. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm not sure if, that's fine. I'm not sure if there's anybody else who wishes to speak, but I do think that I think we got a pretty broad breadth of information. Councilors, there's a motion before us.
Motion to withdraw?
Mr. Del Rosario makes, Mr. Del Rosario got the floor first. Mr. Del Rosario?
Thank you, Council President, and through you. You got to withdraw your motion, Council. Thank you once again. A great piece of history we have today, and that's you don't recognize the motion.
I withdraw the motion, just to make it easy for everybody.
Okay, once again, I mean, a great piece of history we have today, and this is what all has been created. I want to make it clear that, or follow up, that the Toomey family did not approach us to try to make any changes. On the groundbreaking, the date of the groundbreaking, one of our colleagues went up to talk about Stockton and did not provide any information that linked Stockton with Lawrence. And one of his 5 statements says that you have to somehow be connected to Lawrence to have a piece of Lawrence. We do respect our veterans. We love our veterans. And that was why this come up. If this gentleman that we appreciate what he did in the Civil War is not connected to Lawrence, we could dedicate a plaque to him and name Roger Toomey, which united a whole city, worked for the city, was selected tons of times, worked for the veterans. It's still the breakfast hall for the veterans on Roger Toomey's name, and he did everything that he had to do as a citizen, not to deserve a park. To me, not to deserve a park, to deserve a city on his name for everything that he has done. That's my personal opinion. But that's how this come up. So after we decided that if this gentleman, we respect what he did on the word, not disrespect to any veterans, because we're not trying to do that. We decided to move forward. We said, why not just dedicate a park to Toomey, which one of his best wishes, or everything he did before he died, was try to renovate that park. And that's what it come up. We discussed it with a couple of people. Some of them give us a simple no. Did not went through history. They not explained why the park was named after Stockton. Even what said it is on a video, you can Google it. They said that they thought that when the Lawrence named the park, they picked the wrong Stockton. It's on video, okay? But we move on forward. And this morning, I appreciated the Toomey family on Madeline, which she was going through a hard time trying to decide what was the best for the park or for the hospital. And we've been having this conversation forever, and I told her, whatever you tell me to do, that's what we're gonna do. Whatever you think is right for your husband and for the city, that's the way that we're gonna go forward. It's your call. I'm 100% sure that this would go through with the change today. But she come up in the morning and say, you know what, Greg? My heart, it's in the city, and I don't feel right, and I don't want anything under my husband's name that doesn't feel right. I'm not gonna be comfortable with that. So with that said, I want to thank them for that. And I'm glad that everybody showed up. And I'm gonna say something that might sound wrong, but the way that was posted on the newspaper it's irrelevant. Create confusion, commotion, whatever you want to call it, between these two gentlemen, and putting my city through a newspaper without, as an elected official, you're here to protect the city. Now we on the eye of communities around here thinking that Lawrence do not respect the veterans or whoever wants to war, due to the fact that somebody decided to put a post on a newspaper, which this could be discussed like we discussing it now. I'm grateful that they come in with the history. Right now, I'm 100% sure that half of this body here didn't know who Stockton was. And nobody actually, before this had come up, nobody decided, educators, or there's nothing that we can find to tell us why that park was named under that gentleman, Stockton, and it's gonna remain Captain Stockton. But today we have the history because we create this history to come up to us, once again, through Roger Toomey. They created all kinds of stuff, united a whole city from south to north, and it was elected tons of times. And I'm gonna remain saying that he deserves more than a park, not just a triangle on a corner of his house. Not just that. Not just that, he deserves more than that. He deserves more than that. And with that said, I'm gonna put a motion to withdraw this item.
There's a motion withdraws and seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none. Oh, Councilor Infante.
Thank you, Council President. I do want to make a comment on what my colleague said about not knowing who Stockton was and not knowing the history of our city. Prior to tonight, I was very conflicted on how I was going to vote. I was receiving calls for both sides and from my constituents. I took Saturday afternoon to visit. I went to the History Center Saturday afternoon, and I learned about Mr. Stockton and why this park was named after him. I learned that the Lawrence family and the Stockton family still visits our city periodically, and it was very interesting stuff to learn. And I want to take this moment, if we have any youth watching this meeting, to say how important it is to learn about our history, and that we do have a center filled with information that we don't utilize as much as we should. And I hope they take my advice, because there's a lot of neat stuff out there, so thank you.
There's a motion on the floor. It's been
Council
properly
President.
seconded. Councilor Payano.
Just real quick, I want to thank the various individuals in the city that keep the history of our city alive, whether they're part of an organization or they're part of a volunteer group. It is always beautiful to see our community ensuring that our culture, that our history, that our sense of self stays alive. So I think that this has been a great discussion, and at the end of the day, like Mr. Meehan said, a lot of the individuals in this room and watching us today learned a lot about two incredible individuals that have done a lot of great work for our city.
Very good. Councilor Infante.
Sorry, I forgot to add one more thing. I also want to recognize the Toomey family for their decision. From what I've learned from my constituents and those that followed Councilor Toomey's leadership and work, one thing that was always brought up was, we don't believe this is something that he would be for or support. And I heard that
in numerous ways from the Toomey family, and the fact that you are still representing his selfless leadership in the city says a lot, so thank you for that.
Any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, motion to withdraw. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. There's one more document that does with naming. Counselor, would you do the document 39722?
Through you, Mr. President, 397-22, Museo Square Garage, name change to Breton Rose Loading Municipal Parking Garage by Councilor Gregory Del Rosario, Councilor by President Estela Reyes, and Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez, and the Mayor Brian De Peña.
Motion's been sent up to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Discussion?
Discussion?
Councilor Payano?
Just a quick question to either Madam Chair or any of the proponents. It's been a few years since I've read the contract that around Museum Square, and my question is, does that contract stipulate the naming of the garage?
Through you, Mr. President.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, we during the, I think it should be part of the package, but we received a letter from the city attorney saying that renaming the garage will not be in conflict with the contract.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak on this matter? Like we have in the past, we've allowed for people to speak on this matter. Mr. Meehan, please come up if you wish to speak on this matter.
Yes, I would just like to lend support to this change, and it's long overdue. I don't know, again, if you know the history of Museum Square, but there's no museum there. And it's years ago, back into the 80s, when we were supposed to be the recipients of the Textile Museum, which was partly in North Andover. It was moving. And so plans were made to build a museum combination high-rise the apartments with that. It got stuck. The director, who shall remain nameless, did not want to share the space with an apartment complex. We dragged our feet so long that Lowell came up and scooped it up. And the Textile Museum, a lot of our artifacts, too, from the mills in the museum, went up to Lowell, unfortunately. So I think it's a great idea, for one thing, that we get past the Museum Square business and and address something that really is relevant to Lawrence, the strike of the Bread and Roses strike. So now when we do our trolley tours and I go by that building, I don't have to explain why it's called Museum Square Parking Garage. It is Bread and Roses, because that's what it's all about. And that story is alive and appreciated. Just within the last 2 weeks, I brought 2 different school groups to the Heritage State Park, and they were studying the Bread and Roses strike of 1912. One was from Bellassini Academy, which was great. They walked down from the school. Another was a group of international students from the Bread and Roses program at Phillips Academy. They came these kids were from all over the world, and they came to learn about the strike of 1912, which is called the Bread and Roses strike. So just as an individual, I'm not speaking from the Historic Commission because it didn't come before us, but as an individual, I'm so happy that the name change is going to be taking place. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on the change of Museum Square Garage or Bread and Roses Garage? No. Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this matter. Essentially, we, the city of Lawrence, we own the place, we own the garage, but a lot of people believe that the garage is owned by the Museum Square building. And having this, I have this in mind for quite some time, because I truly believe that this is a place that people uses and have the misperception and misunderstanding about the Museum Square garage. I'm glad that we're moving this forward. We just finished the construction of the reconstruction of the place. The city of Lawrence taxpayers pay for $6 million worth of construction on the place. We do have the opportunity to rename these Musenska Garage, something that is more significant to Lawrence, which is the Bread and Roses strike that happened in 1912. This is something that a lot of kids are going to feel proud. Not necessarily a lot of adults, but a lot of kids going to get to know what happened in 1912. And probably they're going to write a couple of papers in schools with that strike of what happened in Lawrence is something that it is remarkable. Having the courage of standing up for your rights, fight, it is something that represents the city of Lawrence by itself. Everything we do in Lawrence is a challenge, and recognizing that through naming the garage, the Musenska Garage, to be named as the Bread and Roses Lawrence Municipal Garage will be very significant and very important for the future generation to understand that Lawrencians are made out of a lot of challenges, and we are. That's our nature, and that's how we are, and we're gonna keep moving forward with all the challenges, but we're never gonna give up, and that's significant. So thank you to all the councilors that joined on that idea, and I hope that we can have a great sign that shows that respect of the strike of 1912.
Any other
Thank you,
councilors who wish to stand up? Well stated, Counselor. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I didn't hear her saying that. We're going back to the top, Counselor Selena Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 127-21, handicap parking at 95 Greenwood Street by Alfonso Rodriguez and Councilor Ana Levy.
Second.
In order to make motion to order, public hearing's been made and seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. All in favor say, discussion, sorry. Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Council document 36322.
50-minute parking at 253 Fairview Street.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
4-22, 20-minute parking at 579 Common Street. Ordering.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor from District D. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Document 366.
No parking at 52 Walnut Street, corner of Mirror Street. With favor recommendation, ordering a public hearing.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilor from District D. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Document 369.
9-22, removal, deletion of handicap parking. With favor recommendation, ordering a public hearing.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded by Councilor Payano. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Document 371.
371-22, handicap parking at 135 Henquist Street. With favor recommendation, ordering a public hearing.
Motion been made and seconded by Councilor from District D. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 372.
372-22, handicap parking at 121 Cross Street. by myself and Sylvia Pina.
Motion?
Motion to order.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Document 382.
382.22, handicap parking at 101 Fort Street. With favor recommendation, ordering a full rehearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Council from District D. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, document 385.
385-22, handicap parking at 23 North Bolton Street by Councilor Pablo Payano and Margaret Clark.
Motion been made, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Payano. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Through you, Mr. President, I want to accuse myself.
Duly noted, the clerk will note that document 28322, that Councilor Selena Reyes has recused herself from this document. Unfortunately, at this point, we cannot go forward on this document because we do not have a quorum. There is a motion under old business authorization to expend grant funds, mass in motion to Mayor's Health Task Force to increase the award amount. The vote was for $110,752. Councilors, I'm going to be looking for a motion to suspend this rule number 20. But before I do so, because this matter is because the original matter is a different sum than what is currently before us, and I did talk to members of the administration on this. What we're going to do is we're going to bifurcate, we're going to split the document at 283A, which would be for the $110,752, and then we're going to make 283B the remainder, $29,053. So at this point, I'm looking for a motion to suspend Rule 20 to deal with a motion to reconsider. Is there a motion? Motion made by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Del Rosario. Is there any discussion on the motion to reconsider? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. I'm now looking for a motion for document 283A that would authorize the expenditure of $110,752. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion made by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Del Rosario. Discussion.
For the 110.
For the 110. Seeing none, all in favor?
Let's explain a little bit.
You want? Councilor Rodriguez is asking if we give a bit of an explanation on this document. And name, please, and your position with the city.
Alicia Miller, coordinator of the Mayor's Health Task Force. I duly ask for a reauthorization from City Council only because Councilor Reyes is going to be directly benefiting from the grant, and she was one of the voting members at the last meeting. So we're asking for a revote.
Very good. All right, so there you go. So the motion's been made, it's been properly seconded. This is on final passage to expend the grant of $110,752. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Document 283B is being sent to the Budget and Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this rest of this evening should go fairly quickly. Table matters, anything? Seeing none. Moving forward to new business. Document number 40122, 199, 229 Broadway, loading zone at Bradford Street, put on by Councilor Anna Levy and Mayor Brian DePena, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 40222, which looks identical except for it's Concord Street, loading zone at Concord Street, put on by Councilor Anna Levy.
That's not, it's no longer Concord Street, that street, so let's change the item number. Isabel Melendez.
And the Honorable Brian A. DePena is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 40322, handicap parking, 1 Bunker Hill Street, is put on by Edwin Rios and by Council Vice President Estela Reyes, is going to the Ordinance Committee. 40422, Platt Street, 1 way, by Councilor Dela Cruz, is going to the Ordinance Committee. 40522, handicap parking, 32 Springfield Street, restricted hours, put on by the Council President, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 40622, handicap parking, 300 Methuen Street, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 40722, Poplar Street, resident parking only, put on by Councilor Del Rosario, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 40822, National Grid Marston Street, install the JO pole at 4642-50, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 40922, appointment of Alfonso Garcia, ISD Director, is going to the Personnel Committee. Document 41022, roadway assessment and proposed modifications, is going to the it's going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 41122, transfer of funds from free cash to special projects, 16 million over 2 years. Actually, that document, we just received word from the, that's going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Document 41222, handicap parking, 2 Bennington Street, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 41322, request post and fill of grant writer's position. That is going to the Ordinance Committee. Document 41422, confirmation of a will to Penn Mattel, Community Development Director, is going to the Personnel Committee. Document 41522, confirmation of William Hill III, Water Commissioner, is going to the Personnel Committee. Document 41622, confirmation of Rosa M. Shepard, Director of Support Services, is going to the Personnel Committee. Document 417, authorization to expend grant funds, municipal staffing grant, EOPSS, for $1,005,200, is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. 41822, appropriation transfer from free cash, $300,000 to renovate Donovan Park, named after a World War I veteran. That is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Document 41922, appropriation transfer from free cash, $100,000, home ARP consultant.
So we agree that you were going to send that to the Budget Committee.
That one is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Document number 42022, authorization to expend grant funds, EOEA grant, $400,000, again, to the Charles Donovan Park. That is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Document 42122, authorization to expend grant funds, Mass Community Health and Healthy Aging Grant for $75,000 over 5 years, equal $375,000. That is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Document number 42222, a declaration of surplus properties at 1517 Saunders Street, is going to the Housing Committee. Document 42322, direct disposition of real property, 7 Walnut Street, is going to the Housing Committee. Document 42422, direct disposition of real property, 9 Walnut Street. This is done to amend the conditions. That as well is going to the Housing Committee. Document 42522, declaration of surplus property, 8992 Oxford Street, is going to the Housing Committee. Document 42622, handicap parking, 69 Lexington Street, apartment 3, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Everybody's got a slice of the pie, I think, for committee assignments. So let's start off in this direction. You have budget and personnel. Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Council President. Personnel will meet on Tuesday, 6 p.m. For Budget and Finance, councilors, are you available on Monday at 7 p.m.? If you are not, just say no. Okay. So I'm unavailable on Wednesday. I know Council Giovanni Rodriguez is unavailable on Wednesday. I'm unavailable on Thursday. Okay. So Monday at 7 p.m. You're available Wednesday now? Okay. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Housing, are you done?
That wasn't meant sarcastic. Seriously, congratulations. You did it last.
How about Housing Committee, since you were all in a fantastic mood? Housing Committee?
I mean, we can meet on Wednesday, right? Yeah, Wednesday at 7.
Wednesday at 7? Okay.
We have 3 items. So one is the disposition. Yeah, Wednesday at 7. 9 a.m.
So I'd like to change it to 7:30 a.m. No, Council President, can we just make sure we have both for personnel and budget? We have a lot of items. Can we just make sure that the proponents of those items send the committee the materials that we need on time?
Sure.
Sometimes we don't. So I just want to make sure, like, if we could, because there's a lot of important individuals that we're about to be looking through, and then there's also a lot of grants there. So just want to make sure that the committee has all the information, especially since we're moving from Wednesday to Monday.
It's fantastic, and I just want to applaud the clerk. She actually sent the letter to the department heads, making sure all of us have talked about this, and I want to thank the clerk. And I think, in looking at the packet, you will find that that you'll sign the documents that are in there. So hopefully we can keep that momentum up, and thank you so much. All right.
Council President.
So do we have all the committees? Are we missing one?
No, but when I just want to piggyback on Councilor Payano's comment. Mr. Clerk, do you mind including on any letter that you send to the department heads that when it comes to personnel, we have a specific rule and state the rule, that our council rule of what we require for personal items? Because I mean that we actually have a specific rule regarding the personal, like what they need to be sending, and more is better, but at least those. Thank you.
Public safety?
No, we don't have any item for public safety at this point. At least.
I think that's it. I think we've got, my God, thank you. Ordinance, 7:30 you said, or 7? 7 at Tuesday. Tuesday? Okay. So I think that's it. I think we got everything covered. At this point, our meeting is over. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by the Senator-elect, seconded by the Councilor from District D. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.